Hey, Mr. Juno, okay, we're on the record in cause number 328120. The case is styled the state of Texas versus Michael Juno. Mr. Juno, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Juno, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Juno, you may put your hand down. How you doing, Mr. Juno?
Okay.
That's good. Mr. Juno, you have before you standard bond conditions in County Court at Law number 2. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
I'll go over this with you. It says, following arrest and or accusation at County Court at Law number 2 of Jefferson County, Texas, all bail bonds executed for release of any defendant named herein are ordered subject to the following additional conditions. Number 1, the defendant shall commit no offense against the laws of this state, any other state, or of the United States. Do you understand that condition?
Yes, sir.
Condition number 2, the defendant shall submit to testing for drugs and alcohol at any time as directed by the court. The court may revoke the bond and order the arrest of any defendant who, A, refuses to submit to a test for drugs and alcohol when directed to do so by the court, or B, submit to a test for drugs and alcohol, and the test indicates the presence of drugs or alcohol by the defendant or in the defendant's body. And that's pursuant to Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, Article 17.44, Section A2 and Section C2. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And condition number 3, the defendant shall not communicate either directly or indirectly with the alleged victim of the pending offense. And the defendant shall not go near any residence, school, or other location frequented by the alleged victim, Juan Rosset. Do you understand that?
Clearly, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Juno, please adhere to those terms and conditions of probation. Your failure to adhere to those terms and conditions of probation can result in a warrant being issued for your arrest and your bond being forfeited. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You have your reset date?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're free to go.
Thank you, sir.
And have a good day.
You too.
We're on the record in cause number 327532, the state of Texas versus Chad Broussard. Mr. Broussard, would you please come forward? Mr. Broussard, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Broussard, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Okay, Mr. Broussard, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Broussard?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing fine. Mr. Broussard, the information alleges that on or about June 29th of 2020, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of criminal trespass. Mr. Broussard, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Broussard, how do you plead guilty? Not guilty or no contest?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are actually guilty? Okay, Mr. Broussard, I have before me what is marked as State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document?
Doesn't look familiar. Yeah, was that the paperwork that was given to me when I was released?
Okay, do you recognize these initials on this document? That's page 2 of the same document.
Yes, yes. Oh, that was the document from here, right?
Right.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so you recognize the document?
Yes,
On page 2 of this document, are these your initials?
yes, sir.
And on page 3 of the same document, Mr. Broussard, is that your signature at the top above the line that says defendant?
Correct.
That's your signature?
Yes.
Okay. I have another document here. This document is titled the Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, yes,
Is that your signature down here at the bottom of this document?
yes.
Now, Mr. Broussard, I have 2 other documents here. This document, the first document, is titled the Judge's Explanation of Rights to Defendants Without Attorney. And do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on this document?
It is.
And are these your initials on the line that says, I waive my right to an attorney to represent myself? And
Yes, sir.
And the next document is the waiver of counsel for purposes of entering a guilty plea. You recognize this document?
Yes.
Is that your signature on the line that says defendant?
It is.
Now, Mr. Broussard, prior to signing and initialing these documents, did you have an opportunity to review the documents?
Yes, sir.
Did you review the documents?
Yes, sir.
And did you understand what you reviewed?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1. State, you like to offer State's 1?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Broussard, I have before me state what is marked as State's Exhibit number 1. State's Exhibit number 1 is the document that have your initials on page 2 and your signature on page 3. The state would like to use this document as evidence against you in this case. Is it all right for the state to use this document as evidence in your case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, no objection. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Broussard, is there any evidence that you are currently mentally incompetent to stand trial? Okay, Mr. Broussard, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea of guilty and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, Your Honor. It's for 6 days credit for time served, tax and retire of the court costs.
Okay, Mr. Broussard, the state is offering that you serve 6 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any time in the Jefferson County Jail because you've already served 6 days in Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for time served. If you owe any court costs, you will not have to pay the court costs in this case because the time you spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court costs will be taxed and retired. Mr. Broussard, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Most definitely.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Broussard, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you entered into with the state. Stand over here on the X and you can get and follow the directions of the clerk. And Mr. Broussard, have a good day.
You as well.